There is a kind of power that rarely appears loud, aggressive, or obvious. It doesn't operate through threats, fists, or shouted commands, but through a quiet and almost invisible game: kindness. At first, this sounds paradoxical. How can something as positive as being kind become a form of control? But this is where psychological sophistication comes in. What we casually call niceness can sometimes be the most effective form of manipulation, and this is precisely what Niccolo Machiavelli warned about when he described how power truly functions. Most people think of control in terms of hard mechanisms: violence, coercion, punishment. But the most effective form of power is often the one that doesn't look like power at all. It disguises itself as care, as helpfulness, as approval. That's why it escapes our awareness so easily. Open hostility sparks resistance, but apparent kindness does the opposite. It disarms us. And disarmed, we open doors that brute force could never open. Picture a simple scenario: someone who constantly does you small favors. They listen carefully, nod with empathy, maybe offer help even before you ask for it. Everything about them signals warmth and goodwill. And yet, after a while, you notice something. You feel indebted. You find it hard to say no when this person asks for something in return. You want to keep the balance, you don't want to appear rude, you don't want to reject kindness. This is the moment where subtle control begins. Psychologically, kindness touches one of our deepest needs: belonging. We are social creatures, and in our evolutionary past, acceptance by the group was a matter of survival. To be liked was to live. To be rejected was to risk death. This ancient program still operates within us. When someone gives us approval and warmth, we feel it as existentially important, and when we risk losing that approval, we feel fear. Machiavelli, often misunderstood as just a cynic, understood these mechanisms well. In The Prince, he wrote that rulers who are feared but not hated tend to govern most effectively. Translated into modern life, it means this: people who know how to use kindness strategically can guide our behavior without us even realizing it. Their niceness becomes an invisible net that binds us, all while we believe we are acting freely. The dangerous part is that this form of control rarely comes across as malicious. Not everyone who is kind has dark intentions, but the psychological effect is the same. We feel obligated, and obligation is one of the strongest levers of influence. Robert Cialdini, one of the most famous researchers on persuasion, called this the principle of reciprocity. When someone gives us something, we feel compelled to give back, and often we give back far more than we received. If we want to understand how nice people can control us, we have to look deeper. Kindness is not only a virtue, it's also a tool that, consciously or unconsciously, can be used to shift boundaries, extract compliance, and create guilt. The real danger is that we rarely notice it. While we are on guard against obvious manipulation, we let ourselves be disarmed by friendly gestures. We tell ourselves, they mean well, and this is where the game of power begins. In the next section, we'll explore how these mechanisms take root in childhood, why we learn to equate niceness with safety, and why that very association makes us vulnerable to subtle forms of control. Machiavelli's warning remains timeless. It's not the loud enemies who are most dangerous, but the quiet friends who win our trust. To understand why friendly people can so easily influence us, we need to go back to the beginning, to childhood. No child is born suspicious of kindness. On the contrary, a newborn expects care, expects its needs to be met: warmth, touch, attention. These are not luxuries. They are survival. And this is where the psychological pattern begins, the pattern that later shapes how we perceive power, control, and friendliness. In the first years of life, we experience countless small moments that teach us which signals equal safety: a mother's smile, a soothing word, a piece of candy as a reward. We learn that kindness equals belonging, that it's better to be pleasant, obedient, and agreeable, because then we are loved, praised, and included. But here's the shadow side. We don't only learn that kindness means safety, we also learn that the absence of kindness means danger. A frown, a disappointed sigh, a withdrawal of affection. These moments cut deep. A child doesn't have the resources to rationalize them. They don't think, "My father is stressed from work." Instead, they absorb the message: "Something is wrong with me." To avoid that painful message, the child develops a survival strategy. Be nice, be compliant, don't cause conflict. That strategy doesn't disappear in adulthood, it stays. We smile when we should set boundaries. We say yes when every fiber of us wants to say no. We help others even when we're exhausted ourselves. Why? because deep down, the same equation is still running. Niceness equals safety, rejection equals danger. This is why Machiavelli's insight feels so timeless. A clever ruler, or in modern life, a clever individual, doesn't need to threaten or punish. All they have to do is offer kindness strategically. Because we carry this conditioning inside us, the fear of losing approval is enough to keep us in line. Psychologically, this is called internalized control. The person who showers us with kindness doesn't even have to demand anything outright. We police ourselves. We anticipate their expectations, avoid upsetting them, keep ourselves in check, not because of external punishment, but because of our own fear of losing approval. Think of the workplace. Who hasn't experienced the nice boss who never yells, never orders, but always asks politely? No threats, no coercion, just a friendly request. And yet, we feel that saying no would be unthinkable, because who wants to risk being seen as uncooperative? Or think of relationships, the partner who always seems gentle, but withdraws emotionally whenever there's disagreement. They don't shout, they don't fight, they just let the warmth fade. And suddenly you feel guilty, you back down, not because you've changed your mind, but because you want that warmth back. The most dangerous part of this cycle is how invisible it is. We rarely question it. We assume kindness equals truth. We believe that someone who smiles at us cannot be controlling us. But in reality, subtle power works best when it's invisible. Machiavelli understood this centuries ago. Power is most effective when it doesn't look like power. And when kindness is used as a tool, it becomes the perfect disguise. In the next section, we'll explore how to break free from this pattern, how to recognize when kindness is genuine and when it's a tool of control, and most importantly, how to remain kind without sacrificing your authenticity or your freedom. Because the goal isn't to mistrust kindness, it's to stop confusing it with obedience. If kindness can so easily be mistaken for safety, and therefore used as control, the obvious question is, how do we break free? How do we avoid becoming prisoners of other people's niceness without becoming cynical, cold, or unkind ourselves? The answer is not to reject kindness. The answer is awareness. Awareness, and the courage to draw boundaries. Because real kindness is free. It expects nothing in return. Only manipulative kindness demands loyalty. The first step is noticing your own automatic responses. The next time you're about to say yes, pause for a moment. Ask yourself, am I saying yes because I want to, or because I'm afraid of losing approval? That simple pause is already an act of liberation. It creates space between your fear of rejection and your true desire. The second step is learning to set boundaries. Boundaries are not cruel, they are necessary. A clear no is often more respectful than a forced yes. People who truly value you will accept your limits. People who only value the control your niceness gives them will push back, guilt-trip you, or withdraw their warmth. And that reaction itself is revealing. It shows you where kindness has turned into a power game. The third step is confronting your fear of disharmony. Many of us carry the childhood belief that conflict is dangerous, that harmony must be maintained at all costs. But harmony at all costs is not harmony, it's suppression. Real connection comes not from avoiding conflict, but from navigating it honestly. If you can learn to tolerate tension without betraying yourself, you cut the deepest string manipulative kindness has over you. Philosophically, this is the essence of Machiavelli's warning. He wasn't simply telling rulers to be cruel, he was revealing the mechanics of power. Those who don't understand how power works are doomed to be ruled by it. Today, the same lesson applies. If you don't recognize how niceness can be weaponized, you won't be able to distinguish genuine care from strategic manipulation. So how do we practice genuine kindness without falling into the trap? The answer lies in self-respect. If you see your worth as independent of approval, you won't need to buy belonging with endless agreeableness. You can be kind because you want to, not because you fear the alternative. That is freedom. Kindness flowing from abundance, not from fear. In practical terms, this means practice saying small no's without over-explaining. Notice when guilt, not love, is motivating your actions. Seek relationships where your boundaries are respected, not resented. And most importantly, remember this: kindness that comes with pressure is not kindness, it's a tool. Once you see these dynamics clearly, the spell is broken. You stop confusing niceness with truth. You stop mistaking approval for love. You realize you are not obligated to repay every smile with compliance. And paradoxically, this makes your kindness more authentic. Because now it's not a survival strategy, it's a genuine choice. Machiavelli's warning still echoes. Power is most effective when it's invisible. Kindness, when used as control, is the perfect disguise. But once you've seen it, it can no longer bind you. Awareness turns the invisible into the obvious. And once it's obvious, you can act with freedom. The challenge is not to become hard. The challenge is to stay soft, but without being manipulated. To be kind without being controlled. To be generous without being owned. That is the mark of true strength. If this message resonated with you, declare it to yourself. Write in the comments, "I choose genuine kindness." Because every time you affirm that truth, you take back a piece of your freedom. Share this video with someone who still believes niceness is always harmless. Remember, real freedom begins not when you stop being kind, but when you stop confusing kindness with obedience.